Hey, my name is Ryan, and today let's take a look at another individual stock. Let's take a look at Carnival Cruise Lines, or ticker symbol CCL. As you know, the whole travel industry has been decimated by the coronavirus. However, many of these stocks could be quite the investments, as potentially some of these stocks could generate 2 or 3 times their current prices once normal operation resumes. The only question is, how long is that going to take? And are you going to take the risk on them potentially having to take out more loans or more stock dilutions, which is possible? So let's take a look at their stock and see what kind of news is coming up for Carnival. Let's take a quick look at this article about Carnival. Clearly, the author has a very clickbait title, so it's no surprise that the stock has fallen 65% with the coronavirus. But there is some good news. The first being the fact that it actually started its cruises back to Italian ports. This is the direct cause of the run-up the last 2 or 3 days leading into the weekend. So it'll be interesting to see if there's any negative news, potential outbreaks on these ships that will drive the price back down. So that's one thing to consider also. So we also saw the run-up in Norwegian Cruise Lines and Royal Caribbean. They're all kind of tied at this point with the coronavirus news, and having Carnival's cruises going into operation helps the whole sector for them. So the near-term prognosis, like you were saying, is pretty poor, as the return to profitability probably won't happen for many of the cruise lines till 2022. Based on his analysis, Carnival actually won't return to the 2019 peak values until at least 2024. According to him and some other analysts. So that's one thing to consider. Let's take a look now at Carnival's graph to see if we can use any technical analysis and tools to see where it's going, other than waiting on some news from the coronavirus, because obviously this will be a direct influence on the stock price also. Let's first take a look at the one-day chart. As we're getting farther and farther from the start of the coronavirus, we're going to have to go farther and farther back on the time series. But as you can see, the high price 51.94, we're not getting kind of anywhere close to that at the moment. So I think the next most relevant point is the peak that we saw at the early June, near the high when the S&P was hitting 320 for the first time, and then got rejected off of that. So we really have that resistance here at the $25 level. We also have another one at pretty much $22 level. And then another one at almost a $20 level, 19.5. And so that's the one we're going to see pretty much going first. As you can see, our current price is 18.5. So we're going to get close to that $19.5 level, and potentially we'll see that resistance come into play here shortly. Let's take a look at a smaller time frame now. As you can see, the peak here that we had in early June we had a sharp sell-off with the continuation of the closings from the coronavirus, and then it kind of traded in a channel because there was delays in the starting of cruises again. However, there's been the small incline now, kind of bouncing off this $14.50 mark, and ever since that, kind of going up. With the recent news last week that Carnival is going to continue with their Italian cruises this weekend, so hopefully that we won't see any negative news on that coming out in the next coming days. If there's no negative news, we might see a continuation of this uptrend, all the way potentially to test the $19.50 level. However, if there is negative news, I'm sure that we'll probably dip far below the 17.85 level, probably down back to at least the $15.50 level, because that's pretty devastating for the stock. There's one interesting thing to point out is that it's been kind of trending for the last month or so in this channel, kind of upwards channel that we've seen it bounce off the upper resistance a couple times, 3 times, and it's been bouncing off the lower support a couple times also, 3 also for that. So potentially we might see a rejection off of this top resistance again, potentially bouncing off of the lower support. So we might have to see, because this will be Monday, and it might get rejected off of this. But it'll be interesting to see if it actually kind of goes up above that with the good news from the cruises. So that's one thing to consider and look out for. Another tool we can use is a Fibonacci Extension. I did this over a period of 2 days, so this is a little bit stronger than the intraday values I've used in the past. So with the swing low position here at 1537 and the swing high position at 1781, it propagating these extra lines of support and resistance. So another point we can see is the propagated uh, resistance at 1932, which kind of lines up with the one that we have at 1951. It'll probably be around that area. So I think that'll be a key point moving forward, and potentially that we'll see after this weekend. Potentially it'll bounce off of that 1932, and then so that'll be a key point to look at. So we might see a green day opening on Tuesday. Another point after that, if it gets through that resistance, it might bounce up to the next channel, which would be 2176. So that's a big move upwards before we hit that. Long term, I'm really bullish on the cruise and travel industry as a whole. I'm not currently invested in Carnival, but I am in some of the other cruises. I feel really confident that within some time that it'll get it back to the glory that it was. It's just how long you want to be invested in this kind of a stock. But I think long term, you're going to make your money back. So we'll just have to see what the news on the coronavirus has in store for us. Hopefully, we can get out of this as quickly as we can because I think these will rebound sharply if we do so. So I hope everyone good luck with this stock. Thanks guys for watching, but remember to like and subscribe for any more technical stock analysis. Also, you can drop a comment for any specific stocks you want me to take a look over.